Hey everybody, it's Liz with Abyss, and tonight we have Reuben again. Uh, Reuben, say hi to everybody.
Hi guys.
So I'm having Reuben on tonight to talk a little more about technology and how some things that he has been working on might be able to be used in the paranormal world. Reuben just got back from the Robotics World Tournament in Houston, Texas, and in doing that, he's had to put a lot of time into programming and learning new equipment and functions and stuff like that. And so I asked that he might come on and talk a little bit about some of that stuff that he learned and what they do as a group and that sort of thing. Um, I do want to start the show off though by apologizing for not getting the announcement out that we're doing this. I didn't get home until a few minutes ago, and Ruben is also sick, everyone. So uh,
Yeah, so sorry for my voice.
Ruben didn't mask up down in Texas, and he was around, thousands of people, so from all around the world. And I told him, I was like, last year, I was like, you need to make sure you wear a mask.
I mean, ironically, I think it was one of the littles on the bus that got me sick.
Either way, you still didn't wear your mask. I told you, man.
He sneezed a couple of three times, and his mom's like, "Oh, he's having allergies," and I'm like, "Oh, I get that." And here I am having some serious allergy issues. Wink, wink.
Right.
Yeah.
So, first, let's talk a little bit about robotics. Explain to the people who may not know what robotics is.
Okay, so I know when they tapped me for mentor, I thought robotics, like the death matches they have where you come out with like a chainsaw and try to cut the other robot in half and stuff.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, so of course I was super psyched. I was like, where can we find a laser or, some kind of, really big skill saw? I was going to talk to my construction buddies, but no, really robotics for the school is a competition on. It's more like a sport. You have your robots play the game, but it's got rules, it's got penalties, and all that. So it's school against school, but from around the world. Uh, there's several teams from different countries down there: Taiwan, uh, China, Australia, Israel. There was like four teams from Israel. Um, any kind of country you could think of, they probably had it. We had one game between like four different countries at one point, but it's a lot of fun.
Now, how does your team get to Worlds?
So there's two ways you can get to Worlds. You can either you can either win with your robot, which is pretty hard to do because there's only three teams that win at each event, and you mainly, even if most teams only go to two events, so it's pretty hard to get there with your robot. Um, Now our team got there with what's called the Impact Award, um, and that is how much we've reached out to the community and
Make an
tried
impact.
to, yeah, make an impact, raise people's awareness of STEM, which STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Um, and also FRC, that's the robotics company. They try to really hard to promote women in STEM, um, because of the field is pretty dominated with males, and they're trying to get more women in there because a lot of the good ideas come from women. So, um,
Go figure.
for, yeah, for example, the team from Israel that won last year, the entire robot design was done by a female and dominated. I mean, it was insane how well it did, you know. So again, there's benefits because of the everybody thinks males and females think differently, and they do, but it's not always a bad thing. they can have several solutions to get to the same place, but sometimes better.
But it's because of perspectives are different. I don't think gender has anything to do with that necessarily, but the larger the group, the more ideas you're going to have.
Well, that's
But,
true.
because like, so when you're programming, for instance, for like companies and businesses that you take care of, sometimes you'll run into an issue. I know nothing about computer programming, right? But I will have a different thought process and I'll start asking you questions and then suddenly the answer is revealed, right?
Right, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
So I don't
I'll
think gender
admit.
has much to do with it as much as it's just a collaborative effort. It's the larger the group, the more ideas you have.
Yeah, I mean, but this specific case, the female from Israel, because of a different, like, okay, and so not to sound sexist, but so it seems like most males go straight for the objective, and females will go gracefully to the objective, and I'm not trying to sound mean or anything, but because of the design of the robot, it didn't even have to, like, there was like some gladiator stuff going up on the front, but because of the way that they designed it, it was just sitting in the back where there was nothing to compete with and just killing it. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
Okay.
but
And so this year's competition was different from last year. So every year you guys get a new theme of a competition, correct?
yeah, this year was water was the theme.
It was Under the
Um,
Sea or something like that. When like a prom name, Under the Sea.
it was something into the depths, I think.
Mhm.
Each level of robotics, like they start out in first grade and go all the way up, but each level has a different name. One of them was Reefscape. Ours was Reefscape. The FLLs was Into the Depths and stuff like that. But like our challenge was to, um, and see, we actually kind of learned because of apparently like a reef has coral and it has algae, and algae is bad to it, and coral helps it. So when the game starts, they have algae all over the reef, and then you have coral in the sides, and so the robots have to get rid of all the algae and put it into a quote barge, which is just like a basket up there. They're big, giant blue balls that we shoot up into this barge, and then coral was PVC pipes that we would hang on this reef, and so obviously the more you got hung on there, the more points you got. So it was a lot of fun. It's not as exciting as a shooting game, but
Which was last year's, right?
which was last year's, which like I thoroughly loved because like so our lead programmer got off by 90 degrees in her code, and so the robot, when we start out, they're an automatic that like you're not allowed to touch the controls or whatever. So the robot just goes boom, points right at the goal, but shoots 90 degrees to the side and
And
almost
that
took
is
out a
correct.
ref.
Yeah.
Yes, it was hilarious. I was like, oh my gosh. But quirky things like that are like I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie Office Space, but the guy's like, oh man, I'm always messing up on my decimal points, and like he got $30,000 instead of $3, and like things like that happen all the time in robotics, and it's like you get a negative number where there's supposed to be a positive, or vice versa, and you end up spinning the coral into the robot instead of shooting it onto the reef. you know, just you're all like, you hit the button, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna score, and then you're like, what? So it's
Okay.
kind
Go
of
ahead.
comical, but
Yeah. So there's the question. How did you do this year?
okay, so we had some setbacks. First off, we thought we had a code issue, and the robot just would not respond, and sometimes it would respond, and but we're very persistent, so we kept on trying, and then we got up right to to the game because they put you in queue. Hey, I said that right, babe. Queue.
Very good. Very
I know,
good.
I know. They put you in queue. Well, when you're in queue, you're the next ones on the field. It's like I think in baseball they call it on deck. Like you're the next batter up. Um, so we're sitting there and we're ready to go, and our robot just died. Not a flashing light, not nothing. and and we're like, oh my goodness! But the main brain had just completely bricked on us. No explanation. So we're like, okay, what do we do? And so the rules say that if you stand there, you still get some points. So I took the coach's badge and from the actual coach and stood there while they went back to get the replacement part. And it was my first coaching experience, and I did not do well because I had no robot. But
And
we
it
still
turned out,
tried.
though, wasn't it? It was some metal shavings had gotten into it, right?
Yes, like a ball of metal shavings the size of my fist. Like I have no clue. We tape all the little ports that you plug into. If they're not being used, we tape them over with black tape to keep anything from getting in there. And somehow they still got in there. So next year we're coming back with one that's going to be in plexiglass with
I don't know if you
foam.
should be sharing all your ideas, though.
Oh no, it's that's one of the things that this is cooperation. So helping other teams is
Competition.
considered
What a
good.
word.
Yes, cooperation. For example, last year when our turret got knocked off our robot in a match because we got hit by another one, three teams came and helped us put it back together so we could play against them. So it's a really cool environment. Like everybody's out there just to, really it's about the robots. It only gets like really seriously competitive at Worlds in like the last two matches because that's when you're going for that title. So but
Now,
even then they're still good.
now, since being a mentor for the robotics, right? Have
Mhm.
you learned any new stuff that you did not know about before, whether it be programming, technology, building new equipment, that sort of thing?
I've learned a lot about, and I know this is boring nerdy stuff, but I've learned a lot about feedback control loops. And they're called PID control loops, but I do hope to apply them to paranormal investigation.
So
Um,
that's what I'm going to do. I was going to ask you next, and what you have learned. How do you plan on implementing that into the paranormal equipment?
well, I planned on trying to once we really get Al really really tuned in. I planned on making him mobile to where he would drive around and do measurements, maybe even by himself without anyone in the building.
Like a Roomba.
Yeah,
Um,
like a Roomba for paranormal.
my question though is, if he reads EMF, right, and you have electronic devices inside of him that move him, could that interfere with our readings?
No, because there'll be a way. The EMF has to be very strong. Like a lot of people think radio waves are weak, but they are very strong. So just having the wires, like the components are like, for instance, in Al right now, he has a bunch of components. He has a computer inside of him, but they're like probably 6 inches away from him, which is enough to keep them from interfering with him on EMF. I mean, it's six
How
six
are the
inches away
components
from the
6 inches
EMF.
away from him? They're in him,
No,
aren't they?
the EMF detector is 6 inches away
Okay.
from the rest of the stuff. Is what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, if you would have been looking in my mind, that would have made perfect sense. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah.
So
So
when he mentions Al, just so everybody knows who's watching, he's talking about Al Investigator, which is a creation of ours together that we designed for the group. Um, he had not been implemented much since we've had him because he did run into some issues. Reuben's been working out the bugs. Um, but I think Reuben has got him to where he should be fine now. So hopefully, the next investigation will be using him. We're hoping to have him on the global ghost hunt. And
Yeah, the
what?
morgue investigation, he had no problems. So, I mean, we've had investigations with him, and he had like few things. I wouldn't say problems, but I'd say that the data was not reliable that I could consider it concrete, because there was a few anomalies that I seen that seemed to be out of whack. But after
But
tuning,
I was gonna say, but at the morgue, didn't we end up with like absolutely no readings? I mean, couldn't that be a sign that something was wrong too, that it wasn't picking up anything at all?
no, because I've tested him.
Okay.
Like I've created EMF and put it near him, and he's
Okay.
detected it and stuff like that. So the fact that he had no readings means that he was completely working. It's a
Okay.
bummer, but you
But
know,
now if you make him mobile, he might go in because we had him stationary in one spot the whole time. But if he's mobile, like you're talking, then he can go around each room and come out and go, just keep mobilizing himself.
yeah, and can you imagine if you're an entity and you're like, what's that little stuffed animal alligator doing driving around here? Let me check that out. I'm hoping to get some interest.
We get absolutely no readings, but on the camera, our investigator starts floating.
Yeah, that would be great. One of the main things that I've learned from robotics that could be applied to paranormal investigation is don't give up. If you think, man, I keep trying, I'm getting nothing, it doesn't matter. Don't give up, because like we had that match, we were 69 out of 73 was our place. And anyone else probably would have walked away, but that's not us. So
The
we
matter of fact,
replaced the brain.
the team came out in a really fantastic mood, right? I mean, you guys nicknamed your bus drivers. You guys had a good dance team. Uh,
Yes, we did.
yeah,
Because there's no reason to let anything kill your happiness, you know? And but at the end, when we had our last match and we went in there and decimated the other alliance. That's what they call them, each match.
and that was the one in
We
Denver, right?
No, this was the one in Houston, the last match we had.
Okay.
After we replaced the brain of the robot, and we had all of our code just perfect. We had all of our mechanical perfect, and it was amazing. If we would have done that well through the whole competition, we would have went on to the finals. Like it was great. So never give up, because you might just be on the edge of that one great discovery, you
Not to
know.
mention, sometimes you're going to go into a place and there's not going to be anything there to investigate.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. Like all of these shows that you watch, it's like there's always going to
Every
be,
single one of them has something. Yeah.
yeah. So if you go and you investigate something and you've done it properly and you get absolutely nothing, great. That's a win. Put that in your book. That is a win, because that means that you did not buy into the hype, that you did remain objective.
And not to mention, even we as a group, we've gone into places where, we might get a few things here and there, whatever. But even when we walk away with like very little to nothing, we still take what happened that night and apply it into the ongoing investigation. So one time we were doing an investigation at a place, and everybody's energy was just hyped. And the energy was bleeding into the house, and people were loud, people were walking, people were laughing, all this other stuff. So we knew as a team that we should not be able to allow that to continue on, because it does contaminate everything. Our energy is feeding whatever we're walking into. And so we then decided to put down some ground rules, for our group as a whole. So even if you don't get anything that you walk into, you can still learn from it. You can still apply it and improve.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the biggest things. My voice is horribly carrying, and so I'm one of the biggest people that needs to shut up.
Every
Honestly.
time, every time I'm reviewing footage of something, like Vicky would be like, "I know I heard of Mel's voice." I'm listening. I'm like, oh, "Freaking Reuben, that's Reuben."
Absolutely. Like I really do want to be. I really do try to be quiet because my voice just it goes through walls and everything. I swear, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's a
But
deep bass it carries.
yeah, I really do think though that even in life, just um, I mean, in FRC they call it gracious professionalism. But basically, it just means that even when you get dealt blows, you still act good. You're not a sore loser. You're not a sore winner. You know. So anything in life, we need to
So,
keep going.
so is that the only thing that you gain from that, though? Is that the only thing you can think of that can apply to our field? Is this
Well,
loop you're talking about?
well, it's yeah. I mean, PID controlling is like a massive amount of. So if you have a system that has extremes in it, it has a way of normalizing it. So to me, it's a really big thing. There's other things I've learned. There's actual um, because of the coding language we use it's different. I've actually decided to recode OWL in that language because it's more structurally sound.
You were
Um,
using C plus plus?
yeah, and now I'm going to be using Java for him. So
Okay.
yeah,
Java is usually the one that they use for apps and stuff, correct?
for what?
For making apps, like phone apps and stuff.
Yeah, it's used on phone apps. It's really popular in most like your DVRs and stuff. Um, your and DVR is a recorder for cameras, and it's really popular in DVD players. Um, and before we got rid of them, it was popular in VHS players. So, but sometimes I miss those VHS tapes.
I think we all do. Being able to
Ever?
rewind.
I I
The only
was
time we
thinking
can be
about that.
kind. Be kind. Rewind.
Yes. So we were literally on the bus down to Houston, and somebody started talking about VHS tapes, and I said something about I was like, I will never forget the first time my mom used her DVD player and called me up and asked me how to rewind it. And I was like, you ejected, and she's like, no, no, I've got to rewind it so someone else doesn't have to, and I'm like, no, no, you push the button, it rewinds itself. It was great. I mean,
Um, for those
and
watching, Vicky's comment about that's putting it nicely was in reference to the crazy investigation we had where the energy was just through the roof.
it was chaos, and it was
It
chaos
was.
to the point where, like, I think that Jesse himself got like overstimulated. Like he had to walk away.
And nothing bothers Jesse.
Yeah.
But we also learned from that. I mean, we kind of already had a rule about it in the first place, but the owners of the house wanted to stick around for the investigation. And that was probably a bad idea too, simply because they kind of fed into that energy and got overly excited about things, because when things happen, we mention it. Oh, did you hear that? Or did you see that? Or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the owners are just like, oh my God, what is it? What is it? And it's like, no, 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 calm down.
Yeah.
But it's
And we're
too late.
like,
They're
we
already in
make,
it.
as we're doing our investigations, we make notes to check things. Not that there's absolutely something there, but that, there was something that we need to look into further.
Yes.
And so they were taking that as, so even at the
Gold.
reveal, I think they were like, well, where's this thing? And we're like, well, it didn't turn out.
Yeah.
And
But
it
you can't
was,
explain that to them because at the time they believed something happened. Now they think you're hiding something. So don't have people on your investigations.
yeah, that is the worst. Like having somebody there with you is it really interflows with your, I mean, interferes with your team's flow. Like,
Yes, it does. It
I'm
does.
sorry, I'm speaking so poorly.
Do you need to take a
But
break for a second and go blow your nose and stuff, or are you good?
I'm good. I'll be all right. I just,
Okay.
Um, yeah, it just interferes with the flow of, like, we all know our jobs, and and Vicky's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like the commander, and she'll be like, "Okay, now you guys go in there with this equipment," and I can't
Yep.
read that. I don't have my glasses on.
It says that's the only investigation I've shut down early. And she's right. We actually ended that one early because we just couldn't do it no more. We just couldn't. It was absolute chaos. Big learning curve for us. So we know now that we have to go in neutral ourselves. We have to not allow those, the people we're investigating for to be a part of it. Um, and if you're off kilter at all, your emotions are different, you're not feeling well, you're hyper, any of it, don't come.
Yep. I mean, it's there's a lot. One of the things that I did learn from robotics to apply to paranormal investigation was a side project. Um, so you know how I mentioned that you can get to worlds on impact and the community,
Mm-hmm.
and so the impact group wanted to do a presentation, but they wanted theirs to have some razzle dazzle to it. So we got a world map, and we put little lights in each one of the countries that we work with. And as they were clicking through the slideshow, the lights were turning on, showing what country they were talking about. And that control system, I learned a lot of valuable things. It's the same microprocessor that was running their sign that was running Al. So I learned a lot of tips and tricks that I'm going to be able to tune Al and make him more optimal from that.
Good. Good.
Yeah. Um, and
Do you
also
have
found
any?
bright.
Go ahead.
I also found really bright LEDs, and I thought that was great too. It has nothing to do with paranormal, but
That's just you. That's just Reuben.
yeah, I was just
Look at
like,
this. It's
ooh,
so cool. I don't need it right now, but I might one day.
yeah. Well, I mean, because the first one was like kind of dim, and you could kind of, and we found these super bright ones, and I'm like, if you don't see those, you must be outside of the room. So sorry, what were you gonna say though?
I was just going to ask. I mean, so regarding technology and creating new technology, stuff like that for the people in the paranormal world, do you have any ideas or suggestions for them, or somewhere maybe somebody is new to technology? Where would you suggest that they could start something simple like what we did? We started with a very simple, what was it, an EVP um, detector or something. I don't remember what you made, but
Oh,
you know,
oh, uh, it's an electrostatic charge detector, and it only has like three transistors and a resistor and a battery, like and a little stick, so and an LED. But like, it's actually pretty simple to put together. You don't have to know the theory behind it. You just look at what's connected to what, and then just if the biggest problem, I think the biggest hurdle that people are going to face is if they don't know how to solder. Um, there is a learning curve on soldering, and there are literally videos though on YouTube that will show you how to solder, and they're really good. Like, they go all out about explaining about how to make the liquid metal flow where you want it and everything. So I think
so
YouTube is a
soldering is
very
like,
good resource.
for anybody who doesn't know, soldering is like welding but for electronics, so smaller, much smaller scale.
Yeah, so like you put most parts have little metal leads on them. I mean, it's a wire that comes out, and we call them leads. And you've got to connect those permanently to another wire. So we melt tin, and then it sticks to them and keeps them stuck together when it turns into a solid metal. So that's what soldering is.
Okay.
And I mean, you can get books on electronics. I mean, unless you're like me,
Can't
you're
hear
going to
it.
be bored with them.
There you go.
Said you can get you can get books on electronics, but unless you're like me, you're going to be bored with them. So the main
Reuben
thing
cannot
is
get
is just
enough.
yeah, just watch YouTubes because they literally have them where they just say this part number, which you can find on Amazon, and then they show you which one to bend, which direction, and how and where to solder it, and boom, you've got a working thing afterwards. So you don't even actually have to know electronics. You just watch, YouTube videos and just solder things together. The soldering is going to be the big thing that's going to get you there because without that, your parts are going to fall apart, and you can black tape those things until you're blue in the face, but ultimately, when you need them to work, they're going to come apart, and you're going to be like, "Why is this thing not working?" So,
Right.
but yeah, I think that I think electronics are good, but there's also a lot of devices that you can use, like cameras. Like there are so many different kinds of wireless cameras you can use. Um, I mean, you do have to be aware of them whenever you're using like EMF detectors or whatever. That if you get near them, they're going to go off. But we have cameras that, gosh, they're maybe 2.5 inches tall and like an inch around, and they are high definition cameras, and they are amazing.
They're very good.
Yeah,
But they
and I
do
mean,
put out their own EMF, like he was saying. Any electronic does put out an EMF field. Oh,
yeah,
that's kind of redundant, but yeah.
and especially these, they're going to put out a field further because they are a transmitter. But I mean, you probably if you give them like a foot, you're good. They're not going to set off a meter because the signal will be weak enough that it's not going to create a problem.
Right, right.
But definitely cameras and like all kinds of. There's so many different devices that you can use. I've seen. I can't remember if it's Vicky or Andrea that has like a digital EMF meter.
Well, I don't remember who has it either. Either way, we use it for the group, though.
Yeah. So like basically when we get to a site, we set up tables and then we just start decking them out. And the cameras belong to the groups, but me and Liz bring those, and because we got to get them charged and set up and everything. And then like Vicky, my gosh, Vicky has like what is it, like 3 or 4 massive suitcases full of equipment. Um, and
Even the
then
old school stuff.
yeah, and then she brings like toys for the kids too to play with, checkers and gosh, I can't even remember.
Jacks,
Jacks. Yeah, she brought Jack.
marbles.
Yeah,
She
I
confirmed to
mean,
Sandria.
I love that she's always trying new things. What does
Yeah,
that say?
it's Andrea.
Oh, Andrea. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that one I love though because it's it's really good at finding power panels when somebody's like, oh man, I get headaches in this room, or I get dizzy, or I have like horrible dreams. Like 9 times out of 10, we take that EMF meter in there, and it's just like stupid high EMF, and you're just like, well,
The one in West Plains, for instance, her bed was up against the wall that had a fuse box on it. And I think on the other side was the actual electric meter or something like that. It was, anyways, I think it was reading like 400 and something, whatever the word, mhm, you know,
yeah,
high.
micro
Um,
gauze.
that's it, microgauss. Okay, so, but as we in the paranormal world know that, high EMF field causes nausea, headaches, hallucinations, paranoia, but it also feeds the paranormal. So, you know, but whenever you have somebody who's seeing things all the time, whatever, that's one of the first things we need to do is check to see, is there a high EMF field? Because number one, we need to debunk anything before we go, oh yeah, definitely you're seeing ghosts, you know. Um,
And
the Hearst
ironically, that room's the one that said "get out" to me. Like that
it
was my
turned out
first "get
that
out."
room was the most active, but it might be because of the high EMF field. Maybe it was feeding it, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, they may have been like the perfect storm. We got a big panel here and for electrical, and then we've got a cemetery that's feeding in, and it's like there was some. The kitchen thing, though, my gosh, the kitchen thing, I still cannot. I'm still to this day trying to come up with ways to debunk that, but I cannot.
Yeah,
And
you
like
can't.
I've literally used a program to take it apart to its frames, one frame at a time, and looked at each picture, and it is not a bug. It's like I'm just
I
like,
told you.
yeah, well,
You know
you
me.
know,
I'm the first one. I'm gonna be like, guys, that's a bug. You know, I won't even look at it closely. I'm just like quickly, that's a bug, that's a bug. This one though was like, shit, that is not a bug.
yeah, that was the real deal, like the real deal. That was crazy to me, but and but see the part of me that's like I want to debunk that is just I can't get rid of it, you know.
Here's a question though regarding like technology though. You know, everybody talks about spirits that have manifested are made of like what they call ectoplasm, right?
Yeah.
That's just some word that was made up for something, right? I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, like, how do they know what is ectoplasm an actual uh thing? Is it like on the table of elements? Is it what is you know?
Okay, so it's pseudo, and I'm not saying this derogatorily, but it is pseudo scientific.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Uh, so there are, I think we're up to like 5 states of matter now. But I don't remember the fifth one, but there's like solid, gas, liquid, and plasma. So what they're calling ectoplasma, I'm going to bet if you look up ecto in Latin, probably means ghost or something like that. So they're probably saying like, oh, that's some kind of plasma generated by the ghosts. And what plasma is extremely excited gas that it has a very high voltage level. Um, which would be a lot. And this is why I don't agree with that. It would take a massive amount of energy. More, they would have to suck every car battery in that city dry to produce enough power to make even a little bit of plasma. Um, so that's
Is it
why I don't agree
possible
with it.
that is it possible that ecto might mean little, mini, small?
Well, I mean, I don't know, and I welcome anyone to look it up. It's got
Oh,
to be Latin.
okay, Google. What is the definition of ecto?
Here's the definition of ecto: outer, external.
I figured I thought it was could we think like if we think of but that's exo. I'm wondering if she thinks I said exo because like exoskeleton of ants and stuff like that, you know. Um let me just get on my phone since I was trying to pronounce it to where she would hear me, but I guarantee you she thought I said exo.
Yeah.
Ecto. Ecto can refer to several things in the context of the Elixir programming language. Ecto is a powerful database wrapper. Okay. Uh,
Hmm.
here we go. Let's see. No, yeah, no, she heard me right. Outside or outer. So that's funny though because you think about you know exoskeleton. It's not spelled that way, is it?
I don't know,
Oh,
but maybe they're referring to the other type of plasma,
exoskeleton.
which is the plasma in our blood. Maybe they're saying it's plasma outside of the body, our blood. I don't know. Maybe
It's not even spelled the same.
it's not crazy.
I can't get it to focus, but yeah, not even spelled the same. But that's exactly, because like an ant, they have the exoskeleton or whatever. And so you're looking at ecto, outside plasma.
Do you know proportionally ants are the strongest animal on the earth?
Yes, but that's not what we're focusing on. Okay,
Oh,
so
sorry. Love
my
that.
question though is, are there any type of technology that is there a technology that's already been invented, or are there the capabilities of creating such equipment to be able to pick up an ectoplasm field?
We do have plasma detectors, but they are extremely expensive, like thousands and thousands of dollars.
So my question is, do they consider ectoplasma to be the same as plasma, the matter?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I've heard of that. I mean, the first time I heard that phrase was on Ghostbusters, the movie. Um, I've heard say that it's like a stringy substance left behind after ghost manifest. Um, they could mean anything by that.
Okay, so I need to take out ecto because I'm getting all kinds of. Let me just do plasm reader. Psalm. It thinks I wrote something wrong. Religion reads Psalms, Book of Psalms, Psalm, daily reading. I don't want Psalms. I want plasma, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. Hypertherm cartridge reader for Power Max, the plasma cutter. Authentic plasma
Okay.
skin.
So plasma. Yeah. A plasma cutter actually gets close, but it doesn't actually technically make real plasma. But
Gotcha. Okay. Well, anyways, I couldn't find a reader necessarily, but how much are we talking for something like that, though?
I think they're like tens of thousands of dollars, because the thing is that they would detect a lightning strike too, because
Mm.
anytime a lightning strikes, it produces plasma.
Oh my God, I
So
forgot
they
about
would be
that.
ineffective in a storm. Yeah.
Yes, that's that smell. They
So
release that
they
smell.
would be ineffective. Ozone. Yeah.
Your phone is
But also,
messed up bad. You're pixelated, blurry. You're delayed. You're frozen now.
how about now?
I guess so, but I heard you in the other room talk like 3 seconds before you actually said anything through the camera.
Oh, there's a delay. I hear you talking before you talk on here.
See? So slime-looking substance, Vicky said.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but the problem is, like I said, is like if you were using it in a lightning storm, it would detect plasma, and maybe there's nothing there, you know. So
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, then it probably wouldn't do any
they
good.
do sell some cheap lightning detectors. Yeah, they do sell some cheap lightning detectors that you may be able to use as a primitive way of sensing it.
Primitive.
Um, I think they're
Me, I'd be like, look at this great new
what?
technology they just came out with. And you're all like, primitive.
Well, I mean, it measures. It almost is like an EMF detector, but it's kind of it's advanced, and it's got some subroutines that analyze the fluctuations to make sure it's plasma being uh, detected. But it's like $40. It's not that expensive, um, but it wouldn't if it went off, I would be like, okay, because of it will detect a lightning strike within 14 kilometers, however much that is in miles. So what's up?
Our driveway's been paved, so I can't tell if somebody's coming down the driveway anymore. But it sounds like no, it really does. Sounds like somebody's on the driveway with a trailer.
Really?
I don't see anybody though. Anyway, um, oh right. So Vicky says could have used one at the Kendricks house with all that lightning.
For real. that, that was kind of scary, Vic.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Tornadic. Oh yeah, there is a truck and trailer. Oh, so
Are they
the
here?
neighbor's mower was using our driveway to turn around apparently.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
So yeah, there are probably like I may be able to find something, but we would have to look up and really study, and not just Hollywood movie, but like really study what they mean by
right.
ectoplasm.
Well, and so my question really, going back to my original thought on it was whether or not there was technology that could read it. Supposedly people can feel it and it feels like a cobweb to them or whatever. And that's what they refer to as ectoplasm plasma. But the problem is, where did we come up with that idea? Where did we all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, it feels like something's there. It must be ectoplasma. You know what I mean? And so, like, I was just wondering if there's technology that would back up those claims, for that sort of thing. Apparently, we can
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
it.
and there may be, and there may be in the future that we actually go, okay, we can see this with this detector or whatever, but it's kind of like how our senses are limited. We can see only certain amounts of light with our eyes. With sensors, we can tell that there's more light that can be sensed above and below what
Right.
our eyes can.
Well, I mean,
But
I
we've
think
got
it
to
was
get,
even freaking Zach Bagans had what kind of light was that he used on his camera? Remember, and it showed like different variations of spectrum that we couldn't see.
oh, it was a
Was
full
it full
spectrum
spectrum?
camera.
Okay, so it had like different colored
Yeah.
lights. I remember that, and you could see different levels of things.
Yeah, but at that point, when your spectrum is going over what we can and cannot see, we're just assigning colors so that our brain can process it. I mean, we know that this light's emitting, but we're like, it's something we can't see, so we change it to colors that we can
Oh,
see.
hmm.
So,
I thought it was just highlighting.
so it's
Well, I mean, I guess I kind of had the same thought, I guess, but just different in my head.
so it would be like, say we had a square light in the middle of
Okay.
the room, right? And it was, let's say it's green, and we can see that with our eyes. Great. But if that light was emitting a different frequency that we can't see with our eyes, it wouldn't be visible to us. So what we do is we go, okay, we're seeing this frequency, we're going to assign it green or blue or whatever, and then we can see the shape of it. We technically are not seeing it, but we are seeing the shape. The
So
shape
the
has not
light is
been
bending
changed.
around the object. Okay. So
Right.
then technically, could somebody who is colorblind to those shoes still be able to see the bending of the light?
No, I mean that's someone that's colorblind even has a worse perspective than we do. I mean, have you been colorblind tested? I'm just
I'm not
assuming you're not
colorblind. I know.
colorblind. Oh, okay. So yeah, they even have a worse perspective because of everything blends in together. So that's the same problem we have as far as anything that's above the frequency we can see or below the frequency we can see. Um, it just blends in. There could be an entire other world roaming around in front of us, and
Which
we're
is
just
the
like, ah,
concept of what the
you know,
paranormal world is.
right. So if we ever get to like real time, full spectrum, like I mean intense AI, we maybe start seeing things we're like, oh, maybe we don't want to see. There could be different types of animals that just roam around that we just don't even
Well,
know
and
about,
and if Dina is
Uh,
on here at all, I don't think she is. She probably would have already said something. But Sam Squatch.
Sam Squatch. Oh my gosh, Bubbles.
We were talking. Dan and I were talking about that show today. Apparently, he really likes it too. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So Vicky
Okay.
said Jesse is colorblind. I didn't know that. Hmm.
Really? Huh. Well, that is crazy. There's there's also other things that we can't detect even with our uh, instruments and augmentation to this day. So the more the technology advances, the more we're going to know is out there.
Right.
Um, we have theories about things because we see how other stuff we can see acts around it, but until we can actually develop to the technology to see it, it's going to be abstract at best. It's like a
Vicky
black
said,
hole.
Vicky said Skinwalker.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the black hole. We can't take a picture of a black hole because it sucks everything in. What we can do is take a picture of the light bending around it so that we know the shape of it and approximately how big it is, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, eventually, hopefully, and it probably won't be in my life, but I hope that we get the technology where we can see cool stuff like that, you know. Like, I know there's got to be something awesome.
Right.
Uh, and so if string theory is right, which is pretty close to, they're pretty sure it's right. There are 11 dimensions in our universe. We only are aware of 4 of them, you know, 3 dimensions in time. So that leaves like 7 other dimensions that could have everything. Like I think it was Dina saying that the Sasquatch goes in between dimensions.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what she
So
thinks. She thinks that there is an interdimensional being.
yeah, I mean they've already proven that electrons are interdimensional. Um, because if they were watching they were watching electrons and some of them just popped out of existence and then popped back into existence, so they know that they're actually going to a different dimension and coming back.
And what are we but electrons?
Yeah,
A bundle of them.
we are a bundle of particles that make up electrons, so we may perceive ourselves as always being here because we're ourselves, but we may be popping in and out of reality all the time.
Oh, okay. I was going to say. So I wondered if I was going to ask. If we could access more parts of our brain, could we essentially like travel? You know.
I mean, there's theories on that. A lot of people that I believe they call it astral project.
Hmm.
Like there's theories that they're actually just entering another dimension to where it makes distance kind of irrelevant. Uh, so
Ooh, Vicky just had a good thought. She said, "I wonder if 3D glasses would show us something if worn during investigations." What are your thoughts on that?
3D glasses would not show us anything because they're polarized glass. And so what they do to make something 3D is they project 2 videos on the same screen with the different polarization.
I was
So
gonna say,
it
but
makes
aren't
our
they different
brain
colors though? Like when you look at a 3D film, it's like blue and red, or whatever. So I
right.
mean, if you have different lighting, let's say for instance, because we don't know, and it's just theorized, that we run into a spirit who is made of multiple colors or something. You know what I mean? Because we don't know or whatever. But if we put on 3D glasses, I mean, maybe we could only see it because of it being well, especially if it's interdimensional, like you're thinking. It could be an overlay,
Right.
you know.
Or what if it's a polarized object? Because that's what those polarized glasses help us see. So it
Maybe,
could
maybe we
even
should
be.
just maybe we should just get some and try it out and see what happens.
You can only come up. You can never lose by trying. You know? Like I'm down with you, Vicky. That sounds like a fun idea. It's a good experiment we should try.
Yep. We'll probably end up doing it on global.
Oh my god.
That's
You're
when
like,
we present
okay,
all of our new ideas.
okay, so Vicky is going to enter with 3D glasses on, and we're gonna see if we see it. Wouldn't it be crazy if like that cracked the code, like
What?
a pair of 3D movie glasses?
Okay, but throwing us out there though. So we walk into the investigation using the 3D glasses, but we also use it to look at the infrared cameras too.
It could be cool. I mean, I see a lot of things. We'll definitely have to talk about this and come up with some ideas because it's definitely a pretty exciting theory.
Yeah, exactly. So good
Go
idea.
Vicky. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything else that you want to add? We're about done anyway, so.
Just that you're beautiful. Okay.
Anyway, don't forget, Reuben, we have a group call at 7:30. Andrea, if you're watching, 7:30. Steven, I know you're not on, but maybe you'll look in a minute. Oh, she said, I wonder what orbs would look like
Okay, that would be cool.
in your
That's
3D
even a
vernacular.
cool idea too. Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I guess we'll let you guys go for tonight. This week, this Thursday, is the cryptid show with Steven, who will be talking about the Loch Ness Monster or Nessie.
I'm sorry.
And we have the recording that we talked about a couple weeks ago. If you're watching and you remember that, we were talking about Gage's theory on what the Loch Ness Monster is. He thought it belonged to a whale who has been turned upside down, a male whale who's upside down. But Reuben found the recording. We might play that just because it's funnier to hear it than me trying to tell it. So, but anyway, okay, Reuben. Anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. I know you feel like crap.
No
But
problem.
all right. Well, we'll see you guys all later. Bye.